If it's not a race-winning bike yet, it certainly will be very soon.
The opening few rounds of the Downhill World Cup have been pretty wild. But in the background, something significant is happening. Gates, a renowned belt manufacturer, is shaking up the game with a staggering €100,000 prize purse, up for grabs if someone manages to put a bike with a belt drive on the top step.
I'm Dominic Tinner. I'm team manager, but as well line scout, masseuse, and wherever he needs me for the team. The 100K prize purse is insane. I mean, there's nothing like that been in the sport forever, or at least I can't remember it. It's so rad. Huge shout out to Gates. Together with them, it took us 2 years to get the belt into the rule book, but I think that shows another big accomplishment, being one of the first teams changing the rule book within the last, I don't know how many years. So that was for sure a journey, but we made it happen, and now we all can enjoy belts on the World Cup. So my name is Pascal, I'm Dominic's brother, and together with Dominic we lead the Gamux factory racing, and I'll also do all the engineering, so everything that's wrong with the bike is my problem. Certainly still a small team compared to the big dogs out there, but we give our best. So back in the day when we worked for other teams or other brands with our team, we were always kind of involved with the R&D side of things. And we figured out at some point you think you know everything better and stuff, so you naively think you can do it yourself. We took our own bike project on, and then at some point we had an injured rider, and the COVID was happening and stuff, so there was a lot of unknowns. So we said, okay, now try to put everything into a bike that you think would actually be beneficial. So that's where the gearbox comes from, that's where the belt drive originated, and that's also why we use CNC. So we try to think about the bike very holistically, so it's not just a frame you bolt parts on, but everything needs to correspond to each other. So tires, wheels, weight distribution, sprung versus unsprung, mass, geometry, flex characteristic is really big for us. And then CNC helps us with this stuff because we don't have any welds in there. So in FE you can be quite precise with stuff. So we also work with a local university where we try to understand the real load scenarios on the bike and then map that back into FE. And all these things together make this alien looking bike maybe. So it's all about holistically thinking about the whole thing as one sort of piece of equipment that's basically an elongation of the rider. So we for sure have learned a lot through the last four years doing the Sego project. So we learned quite a bit on stiffness, let's say directional stiffness versus torsional stiffness, how these two kind of variables interact with each other. Then also to integrate the gearbox in the belt drive system, you have to think a bit differently in how you lay out your kinematics as well. Because we did a prototype with a normal drivetrain and then a gearbox belt drive driven system, and you can actually see the differences in the telemetry. So it needs a different shock setup, it needs a bit of different, behaves very differently on the braking as well, because the mass is at a different point in the bike, so there's less accelerated mass.
You know, weight's really important, and where that weight is really important as well. And that's one of the biggest issues, is the fact that you have teams that are adding lead weights to the bottom bracket, so you think that weight by itself isn't important. But when you have that weight on a wheel, such as a cassette and a trailer, you're talking 500 to 900 grams of weight that's added to the wheel. That actually affects your suspension performance, and it affects how fast your suspension can react to small bumps and to big bumps as well. And so it's not so much about the absolute weight, but where that weight is. Getting it off the wheel makes your suspension perform better. You can run different settings in your tires, different settings in your suspension to actually get the optimal grip. Belts are lighter, they last longer. It doesn't require any lubrication or maintenance really. It feels better, it's quiet. Because they don't have individual links that sit there and move against each other, it's more of an instantaneous feel. Just a ton of benefits when you pair belts with something like a gearbox for a mountain bike application.
We're still not done with learning. There's always more to learn. Like, the good thing is, for us, it takes about 8 weeks to build a complete new frame. Once we have enough data and feedback is corresponding with what I think we should do, we can then pull the trigger and get another one done, start testing. It's a very specific downhill racing machine, so this thing is not fun to ride just in the bike park. It behaves not the same way as a conventional bike would do.
And do you think it's a race-winning bike?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I think we have to do some catching up in a couple of areas, but when the track is right, like for us, like Leogang or Fort William, like these kind of, where carrying speed is maybe more important than like trying to manage speed like here. Our bike certainly does work really well, and we can see that from all the split times, like, but then also when there's like pockets of grip and you can really let the bike run, brake, turn, and then let it run again, that's when our bike fully comes alive. If it's not a race-winning bike yet, it certainly will be very soon, in my opinion.
Great, that feels like the end of the episode.
So we have Mike Hutter and Lino Lehmann in our team, Mike Hutter being under 19 junior.
My second year junior, I'm 17 years old, I'm from Switzerland.
Mike we scouted quite early, so for his first under 17 year we brought him on board to the team to get him used to World Cup style racing, having a mechanic, what does it mean to test things and give feedback and all of that, so that you're not Alice in Wonderland once you come into the first World Cup. And Lino we scouted a few years back. Well, he was like super new to the scene. He has a freestyle BMX background and did a few World Cup races, one World Cup and World Champs, and did very well, and came to a national training camp with jeans and like no gear and whatsoever, but had a lot of talent, and that's where we said, yeah, let's have a look at it. Started talking to him, and then we figured out as well that he's learned bike mechanic, super good in giving feedback and R&D, and yeah, that's how it came together. Yeah, last week was honestly mega for us. Like, first podium on the Seago, for a lot of our partners the first podium on a World Cup. So Mike made it on the podium, third place. It has been a long time coming, and I was emotional. So this year only Lino is eligible to win the 100K, but Mike is coming into Elites next year, so if we don't get it this year, we're on next year.
Yeah, I did one run already here. It's a mixed condition. I thought it's gonna be more slippy than it was. Like peanut buttery with slick roots, but quite good traction as well. So yeah, it's good.
It's super greasy in some sections, so it's quite the struggle fest, especially up here. But so far so good, and for sure in the afternoon it's going to be a bit drier, so should be alright.
Kind of slippery everywhere, but a lot of fun. It was wet the whole winter long at home, so I didn't ride anything else, and yeah, in the wet it's always a lot of fun.
What's the bike like on this track?
Like, you can find grip where probably others can't find grip, and I think that's a good advantage here.
like the bike should feel similar on all the tracks, so you try to use your setup stuff to kind of make the bike feel consistent. So yeah, if we do a change and they're happy with it and they can't really feel the change too much in a positive way, then it's good.
Bringing it down smooth but still fast is probably the go-to move on this track, and not overcooking some sections, and then yeah, I don't know, carry good ground speed throughout the track, and this would be the plan.
Do you like the track here? Is it okay?
Yeah, I do like it, but it's super rough, and it's like a full run on this track is super hard, but I still enjoy it.
Yeah, this weekend was a bit tougher. They both didn't really get into a rhythm, to say it like that. It was a bit tough for them. And yeah, then Lino had a little technical one in his qualifying. So he bumped his knee on really hard onto the trigger, which broke the trigger off, and then he wasn't able to shift anymore, which is tough. And Mike just was out of it today a bit, and really he came down and was like, never had such a bad run in my life. So you lose some, you win some, and we take a few days to recuperate and then get back at it again. Yeah.
We for sure didn't get the setup perfectly right, but then I can go back home now, go on the computer, try to get things fixed, and then do the next iteration.
So the rest of the season, like, we have a short recovery now. We have next week, we have Swiss Champs in Lenzerheide, so home race for that, and gonna get that sleeve. And then we have a weekend off, Léger, and then Olympic break, where we for sure is gonna utilize that for some more testing and improving with the boys. But for sure we keep on trucking, we keep on analyzing and improving wherever we can. Is it athlete side, is it material, is it staffing, line coaching, whatever it is, we keep on going.
Zero's a belt drive bike, and I'm a big fan of new Kiwi ingenuity. So Zero's probably a brand that's really doing that, and I like to see them taking on the World Cups. It's pretty cool to see them here racing.
I mean, it's awesome, eh?